Hello, my little dark ones, and welcome to another installment of your creepy, disturbing goodness. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing the top 12 most terrifying and disturbing quotes from killers and serial killers alike. We think that in our day-to-day lives that nothing can go wrong, but in reality, in a snap of a finger, everything can go perfect from quite dreadful. Number 12, H. Holmes. Herman Webster Mudgett, May 16, 1861 through May 7, 1896, better known under the name Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, or more commonly, H. Holmes, was one of the first documented serial killers in the modern sense of the term. While he confessed to 27 murders, only 9 could be plausibly confirmed, and several of the people who he confessed to murdering were still alive. Oh, he sounds like a very truthful person. He is commonly said to have killed as many as 200. Though this figure is traceable only to 1940s pulp magazines, many victims were said to have been killed in a mixed-use building he owned, located about 3 miles west of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, and said to have been the World's Fair Hotel, though evidence suggests that the hotel portion was never truly open for business. H. Holmes' famous words were, "I was born with the devil in me." Number 11. The Son of Sam. David Berkowitz, born Richard David Flacco, June 1st, 1953, also known as the Son of Sam and the 44 caliber killer, is an American serial killer who is convicted of 8 separate shooting attacks that began in New York City during the summer of 1976. The crimes were perpetrated with a 44 caliber Bulldog revolver. He killed 6 people and wounded 7 others by July 1977. As the number of victims increased, Berkowitz eluded the biggest police manhunt in New York City history, while leaving letters that mocked police and promised further crimes, which were highly publicized by the press. The killing spree terrorized New Yorkers and achieved worldwide notoriety. David Berkowitz's insane-ass quote is, "The demons wanted my penis." Number 10, Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Carol Wuornos, February 29, 1956, October 9, 2002, was an American serial killer who has killed men in Florida between 1989 and 1990 by shooting them at point range. Wuornos claimed her victims had either raped or attempted to rape her while she was working as a prostitute, and that all of the homicides were committed in self-defense. She was convicted and sentenced to death for 6 of the murders and was executed by lethal injection on October 9, 2002. Oh man, Aileen, you're such a peach. Her quote is, as she told the jurors, "May your wife and children get raped right in the ass." Number 9, the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer was a serial killer who operated in Northern California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The killer's identity remains unknown to this day. 4 men and 3 women between the ages of 16 and 29 were targeted. The killer originated the name Zodiac in a series of taunting letters sent to the local Bay Area press. These letters included 4 cryptograms or ciphers. Of the 4 cryptograms sent, only 1 has been definitely solved. Zodiac's killer quote is, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing a wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of them all." Number 8, Ronald Gene Simmons. Ronald Gene Simmons, Sr., July 15, 1940, June 25, 1990, was an American spree killer who killed 16 people over a week-long period in Arkansas in 1987. Simmons murdered 14 members of his family, including a daughter he had sexually abused and the child he had fathered with her, a former co-worker and stranger, and wounded 4 others. Simmons was sentenced to death 16 times. After refusing to appeal his sentence, was executed by Arkansas in 1990. Ronald Gene Simmons' quote is, "Let the torture and suffering in me end." Number 7, Richard Ramirez. Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez, known as Richard Ramirez, February 29, 1960 through June 7, 2013, was an American serial killer, rapist, burglar, and Satanist. His highly publicized
home invasion crime spree terrorized the residents of Greater Los Angeles area and later the residents of San Francisco area from June 1984 until August 1985. Prior to his capture, Ramirez was dubbed the Night Stalker by the news media. He used a wide variety of weapons including handguns, knives, a machete, a tire iron, and a hammer. Ramirez, who was a avowed Satanist, never expressed any remorse for his crime. The judge who upheld his 13 death sentences remarked that Ramirez's deeds exhibited cruelty, viciousness, and disturbing beyond any human understanding. Ramirez died of complications from B-cell lymphoma while awaiting execution on California's death row. The Night Stalker's quote is, "We've all got the power in our hands to kill, but most people are afraid to use it. It's the ones who aren't afraid to control life itself."
Number 6. Albert Fish. Hamilton Howard, aka Albert Fish, May 19, 1870 through January 16, 1936, was an American serial killer. He was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, and the Boogeyman. A child rapist and cannibal, he boasted that he had children in every state, and at one time stated the number was about 100. However, this is not known whether he was referring to rapes or cannibalism, nor is it known if the statement was truthful. He was a suspect in at least 5 murders during his lifetime. Fish confessed to 3 murders that police were able to trace to a known homicide, and he confessed to stabbing at least 2 other people. He was put on trial for the kidnapping and murder of Grace Budd, and was convicted and executed by electric chair. His crimes were dramatized in the 2007 film The Gray Man. This creeper's quote is, "I always had the desire to inflict pain on others and to have others inflict pain on me. I always seemed to enjoy everything that hurt." I think there's a thing for that now. It's called being a kinky bastard and being into BDSM. Sick asshole. Number 5. John Wayne Gacy. This asshole is pretty much the reason why we're all terrified of clowns. When you think of clowns and you have a thing against them, you pretty much think of him and that is the first thing that pops into your head. Like, what the fuck? I thought they're supposed to be fun and, do clown cool shit, not be total murderers. Well, I guess in 1972 and 1978, he killed at least 33 young men. And he apparently doesn't give a fuck about how he feels or how the victims feel. Bozo the Clown's quote is, "The only thing that they can get me for is running a funeral parlor without a license." Number 4. Jeffrey Dahmer. So we all know this asshole is the person who likes to pretty much make their innocent victims suffer uncontrollable amounts of pain before he cuts them up, eats them, stores them away, and has sex with them later. What the hell is wrong with this guy? Apparently, this Milwaukee cannibal killed and raped and consumed the body parts of 17 men between 1978 and 1991. Holy shit, that is a lot of consuming. Jeffrey Dahmer's twisted quote is, "My consuming lust was to experience their bodies. I viewed them as objects, as strangers. It is hard for me to believe that a human being could have done what I have done." Number 3. Charles Manson. So Charles Manson is pretty much one of the most famous killers, or a cult leader, if you will, that anyone has ever heard of. He pretty much made a cult and told his followers to go commit several murders in the late 1960s and early 70s. Including actress Sharon Tate was murdered, and she was 9 months pregnant at the time. So many people on this subject have a very hard time with it because some people are one-sided. They believe that he did anything, and some people believe that they don't did anything. I feel that if you pretty much told people to go do something, you're just as guilty as them putting the knife in that person, because they wouldn't have thought that idea unless you put it into their mind. And he was the cult leader, so that's what he was doing. Charles Manson's quote is, "I'm Jesus Christ, whether you want to accept it or not. I don't care." Number 2. Jane Toppan. Jane Toppan, 1857 through 1938, born Honoroa Kelly, was an American serial killer nicknamed Jolly Jane after her arrest in 1901. She confessed to 33 murders. She was an in-home nurse who always wanted to go the extra mile for her patients and make them feel great. Well, apparently, her idea of making them feel great was injecting them with insane and lethal amounts of morphine until they pretty much died. This horrible person's quote is, "My ambition is to have killed more people, more helpless people than any man or woman who has ever lived." Number 1, Gary Ridgway. Apparently, Gary Ridgway, aka the Green River Killer, had a lot of personal issues going on up there. He was convicted of killing 48 people in the 80s and 90s and dumping their bodies in the Green River in Utah. He has confessed to murdering twice that amount. Fighting with the demons in his own head, Gare Bear's quote, "I don't believe in man, God, or the devil. I hate the whole goddamn human race, including myself." So, my little dark ones, that was my take on 12 spine-tingling quotes from killers and serial killers alike. Don't forget to support my Patreon and all my social media.